Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. This is a podcast on Star Citizen that I do here on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. We talk about Star Citizen content, Star Citizen news, updates, and sometimes just very vague or specific topics. And today I'm joined by two regulars on the Captain's Table. I think once a year y'all both show up, at least once a year, if not more. Mr. Cor5air and Crucian from Atmo Esports. I'll start with you, Mr. Cor5air. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
That's very official, man. Mr. Cor5air, I love it.
I could say Master Cor5air, please. You know.
Yeah, no, Mr. Fine. I run events and tournaments, and we do a lot of activities within Star Citizen. The community are based around mostly ground racing and those activities, and we do a little bit of battle royale as well. But apart from running those events and kind of some of the administration behind that, and been doing that for about 5 years. Still, regular lover of the game. Definitely a bit of a haul, a bit of a salvager now, loving that. So, but primarily, a lot of my time is taken up with, kind of organizing and doing, like, talking to crew every day and getting organized for what we do in the tournament event space for Atmo Esports. So that's that takes up a lot of time of my life with a full-time job and a couple of kids, and it's pretty much what I do.
I feel you there. I don't know how I could do everything I can with a full-time job, so I can't imagine having children and then also doing all the things you do. It's like, okay, that's insane. I don't know. Do you handle it like I do, which is just don't sleep?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
you make
very little sleep.
All right.
You'll be amazed how much time you have when you cut out the sleep section. You still got a good solid 8 hours you could slam stuff into.
Exactly. Dedicate some time to the family and do everything after that, and then find sleep at some other time. So yeah, it's crazy.
Crew, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
Hey, so I'm Crucian. I also help behind Atmo Esports. I'm pretty much the marketing director. So anything that falls along with the brand or social media or anything, I pretty much handle that stuff. I'm also I used to be a full-time Star Citizen content creator, but now I just stream part-time or once in a blue moon, while I'm behind the scenes working on all the other stuff. So you can easily find me on Crucian Gaming on Twitch or Twitter or anywhere else. And in Star Citizen, I like to do a lot of different things. I just got my dual sticks and my monster tech mount, so I am able to hopefully start to learn to do a little bit of low flying and hopefully a little bit of dogfighting PvP, but I love also racing in the verse. I also like I'm not much of a cargo hauler, but also doing some FPS mission, bunker missions. I love doing that stuff. Building up reputation. I think all that stuff in the game is super fun. Bounty hunting is also another thing. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I actually reached out to Crew recently for my lore stuff, because Crew was also in the Navy for a while. So I had a bunch of questions because I was doing a video on the squadrons of the UEE. So Crucian helped me out a lot with that as well. But yeah, I've known both y'all for, is it 5 years now?
It's been a while.
Yeah, 5 years.
It's been like half of Star Citizen's development time. So
yeah.
We're the OGs now, AstroPub.
I know. I know. It's so weird when you think about it, because I've been the OG for enough times to know, like, to see like 3 or 4 generations of content creators come and go for Star Citizen.
Come and go.
Yeah.
Wow. Yep. So let's talk about a little bit more about the ground gameplay. So that's kind of the big theme for this. We're going to talk a little bit more about upcoming events for Atmo Esports, so make sure you stick around for that, and things that are coming up, including things like CitizenCon, tournaments, and so on and so forth. But while I have these two connoisseurs of the ground game, I'm going to ask a few questions for them to see the kind of their whole things. But as always, I want to know your thoughts down below in the comments section. And if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, you can join us on chat as well at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and join in the conversations. But also, I would love to hear. Why am I blanking on this again? But also, yeah, let's just get into it. My brain is now mush. Crew. I'm going to start you off with this question.
Hit it.
What is your current opinion on Tonk Royale? Because I know y'all do your, what is that called?
Invented it. What are you talking about? Hurt Locker.
Yeah, the Hearst and Hurt Locker. Yeah.
The Hearst and Hurt Locker, right? Yeah, the Hearst and Hurt Locker, which is just like this giant like demolition derby in a crater in Hurston. Now that they're doing AC Hearst and Hurt Locker effectively, what are your thoughts on this and just in general?
Well, I mean, it's not out yet, so I can't really like put into words what it is. But for Tank Royale overall, I feel like it's like to me is like, are you gonna be able to get into the into ACC and like get out of the tank, or are you stuck being in the in the tank, or so that's, I have so much questions about when they announce that stuff. Like, are people gonna be able to leave the tank and shoot the other tanks down with a rail gun or with other different weapons, with a a grenade launcher? So it's kind of difficult to see if that's the same thing that we run, because for the Hearst and Hurt Locker, right, we run pretty much that event inside a crater, and then in that crater everybody has to find each other, whereas in ACC you're going to have spawn points and different points where your teams can start from A to B. So I mean it's going to be difficult, but I'm glad it's out there, because it makes it easier for us to kind of run a tournament or run something fun for the community, that where we don't have to take 30 minutes to an hour to set up. It'll take us a lot shorter, and people can respawn, and we can do things like best out of 3 tonk battles, and I think it'll make it fun overall. So I think the more they add to Arena Commander, because Arena Commander right now doesn't see too much of a high demand for people to go in and play. People rather go into PU. I would love to see that more people go into ACC to practice, with vehicles and different things, and then applying that into the PU. So I think it's great overall, but I think we still need to see, when it comes out, what are the capabilities of what we're going to be able to do in the mode, and what we're not going to be able to do in the mode.
Okay, so you're tentatively looking forward to it when it comes like say Atmo Esports, like doing something like that, or like even because I know y'all do like a lot of practices, and it can be kind of a pain to try to set everything up in verse, but
yes,
okay. Cor5air, same question. Your initial thoughts on Tank Royale and kind of its implementation into Arena Commander.
Yeah, so like I think Crucian hit a little with it for us with the tournament, or it is kind of always like a PU versus mechanically created menu-based system event. We need to decide, or most of the time we're waiting for that to occur. I think Hearst and Hurt Locker is a perfect example of that. I think we introduced the military division at a later date, so it wasn't initially in our first iteration of Hearst and Hurt Locker, and it came later. And we honestly, be very honest about this, we did struggle finding a crater and arena that was kind of big enough to handle the tanks, and also the terrain that they could traverse and still have cover and all of that. So it was actually quite a difficult task to find something that was still kind of Hearst and Hurt Locker related, but an arena that was large enough. And I think that not taking it out of the PU is going to solve that issue for us as well. But I think I'm also interested in what Crucian said about being able to leave your vehicle and still do FPS parts of what we do, because we did announce Hearst and Hurt Locker as a battle royale. We do contain it within Crater. We don't have a shrinking space, but you are locked into that arena space. So I'd like to think that this has come from what we've done. And I'm very interested to see what you do, because we would like it. It is difficult to set up in PU, so I'm really keen to see what they do with it. And I would definitely say that we might be doing tournaments in this space, but as is now, Hearst and Hurt is on hold this year, and we are redeveloping something new and fresh for that, and it will most likely be called Hurt Locker, and it's still going to be an FPS environment based event. So that's changing for us as well. So it's good timing that the Tank Royale's now, because it may give us the option to do both. So I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Awesome. So, Cor5air, I'll start with you, kind of a follow-up question for this one. Is there anything in Arena Commander coming out that y'all are looking forward to in terms of events that you're looking to put on? Because it seems like the Arena Commander systems that's a huge overhaul and becoming a lot more diverse. Is there anything you would like? Say you had DJ, who may or may not be watching this right now. I don't know. Sometimes he does pop up. Come on, and just be like, you get his ear. What would you kind of be pitching for, or hoping for from an Arena Commander?
Well, it all comes down to, like, Daymar Rally is a PU environment-based race. It's never going to change. We want the community to be involved in that. We like the live camera stuff, the security, salvage will get involved in that, medical, all of that stuff will get heavily involved in the demo rally. So that kind of thing would stay in the PU forever. But obviously with Fight or Flight, we are actually just biding our time with Fight or Flight in PU. We move that over to Arena Commander as soon as possible. It looks like this might be our last year that we have to persevere with that, because it does extend our set time quite considerably. We want to move that to Arena Commander. It doesn't need to be in the PU because it's really not a community based kind of like staffing tool. Like, you don't really need it. It's just the camera work's too difficult in Fight or Flight, so moving to Arena Commander for that just makes perfect sense. And I know crew feels the same way. So that's the biggest one. We've been waiting that for probably a year and a half, 2 years. We've been asking the question to them for, when's it getting fixed? When private lobby's getting fixed? When's it getting fixed? So just so we can get that moved over. So that's a huge one. And I think Hoka has the potential. If S7, there's a possibility that if they have enough tracks in that space, that we might be able to do it. But I'd say it'd probably stay with PE for quite some time. But yeah, I don't know. Fight or Flight, 100%. Yeah.
Crucian, same thing. Anything you were looking forward to? You think it might be used for Atmo?
Yeah, I think I'm a bit scared, to be honest, and this is the reason why. I think that I'm not sure if DJ ever mentioned a spectator mode or anything in ACC. They haven't mentioned anything at all. So I really hope that they don't just release ACC and once it's working well, they don't input a spectator mode, because that's so important for what we're doing. But, to piggyback off what Cor5air said, like to be able to open up some of these tournaments and not limit it to only 64 people, but open it up to the entire community, regardless of whether you're good or not, because we should be able to kind of control the scenarios of people, whether it's dogfighting or ground combat, and just cycling people a lot faster through these tournaments. We'll love to do that, but as you mentioned, Daymar Rally and other PU events, we want to kind of build upon the Daymar Rally and other PU events, so that way we're also having something in the PU that people can also look forward to, because the Daymar Rally, we have so many people that race. Last year we had about 736 competitors, or probably more. So we kind of want to continue growing that and making sure that people know, like, hey, some of these events are never ever going to take place in Arena Commander. We're going to continue doing them in the PU, and they're open for people that want to are experienced or not. We want these tournaments to be for everybody. But yeah, I'm just a little bit scared that they don't put in a spectator mode in ACC, and I'm hoping that they do, and I'm hoping that they do something that we can continue to kind of build upon for our tournaments.
Okay. So that's a kind of good segue into talking about the next part, which is, I'll ask you this question, Crew, starting with this. Is there anything, because we know in the past, CIG has looked at community content and said, let's support that, especially with, let's say, the current spaceship racing, which everyone's happy about and really looking forward to. But we know in the past, CIG has attempted to do ground racing, and it was a terrible disaster.
Yes.
So with, say, CIG doing things like the road systems, which has been talked about off and on, and with CIG starting to promote and support more community content, and with racing specifically, is there anything you would like to see added to the PU to support y'all, like System 7 racetracks, or say like some sort of way of doing marking the pathways for Daymar Rally, other aspects? What would be your kind of wish list for those sorts of supports? How could CIG support y'all and groups like that, y'all better?
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions between this, and I think one of the biggest things is just have it like, I think they've talked about this in the past, but haven't really implemented it, is like having a race kit where where we can have like checkpoints without having to go do box missions, maybe a light beam or something, or checkpoints where we can just share with other party members is a massive deal. Being able to control your party members as well. Like, hey, like if we have 200 people in a party, I want to turn off all these markers and only be able to see the racers. I don't want to see the staff, or be able to control party a little bit more. Another thing with that being said is that what makes ship racing to me very exciting is that you can control your speeds. You have control over your boost. You have this and that. We need that in ground racing. Right now, ground racing is a little bit stale, to be honest with you. I'm happy that the new ground mechanics are coming, but there is no excitement and no differentiation of how good is somebody compared to others, right? Because the vehicle doesn't have a boost, the vehicle doesn't have a handling category. So to be able to kind of bring that a little bit into the PU where somebody can change out a part or a transformer of a vehicle to get a little bit better boost or a little bit better handling will really make ground racing a little bit more exciting, kind of like how you can change the parts and ships. So I think with those few things, I think it will definitely enhance the experience in just ground vehicles in general. And that will trickle into racing.
Okay. So basically the improvements, a lot of the stuff that they want to do for like 320 with like the traction changes and some of the other things. And I'm gonna have Crew, because I know Crew and I are both big fans. We're part of we're the chairman and CEOs of the Ranger fan club. So so I have to ask the question: Are we going to, when the Ranger gets added to the game? Are we going to see a specific Ranger event that's going to be run by Atmo Esports? And when is it? And when can I apply to join? Can we get an Akira brace or something like that through?
To answer that, we just recently did the Grey Cat Social 2953, which we try to. Well, it is a record. We had about 70 plus racers. We were trying to go for 100, but it's still one of the biggest races in Star Citizen history, especially for the community. But I think we would want to do the same with a Ranger, like do like a big Ranger event where we have like, if the server caps ever increase to 200, let's get 170. 180 plus, Rangers to just go and have a really fun race out there. Maybe, have ramps where you can jump through a C2 with the Ranger. So I think there's definitely some planning once we know when that vehicle is coming out.
All right. Cor5air, same question to you when it comes to things like how could CIG better support events like y'all in the future?
Yeah, I think CIG start to trust you when you have stayed with the community for a long time, and you do regular content, do produce content that they seem appropriate for the audience and for the community. And we've had the opportunity to submit things that we want, nothing confirmed or anything like that. But for the demo rally and for things like the 7, submit PU tools, submit updates to the rally and inclusions and stuff like that. And they've definitely been open to hearing us, listening to us, and recording that information. And fingers crossed for us that at some point that they get to add all those things. So like Crew said, we submitted those quick checkpoints with like vertical light beams so you can see the checkpoints from a distance, and just tools to make it quicker and easier in the PU based system. When it comes to Arena Commander, I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of different ways that they would handle that, and something that we haven't really discussed them. But BTR is a great example of that kind of inclusion. It is a cool little track. It was a bit of a surprise. It was nice to see that implemented. I think it's a much better inclusion than what they were doing, those PU based racing missions, which were not fun. I didn't find fun at all. And BTR is a cool example of that. And I know if doing BTR, I would imagine that Arena Commander is going to get that kind of treatment that ship racing gets. And I'm keen as far as roads and things go. Like we do love creating tracks within the PU. And your own paths and doing that. So I'm not sure how roads would get involved in that unless they let us build a track and then they lay roads on it for us, which I don't really see that occurring. But we're not devs or but you never know. Like a race creator tool in the distant future, you can build your own tracks and stuff like that, which has happened in many other games before. A track editor, things like that would be cool to see. And we could change, like S7 could change every year, like we do now if we had like a track editor. But also, like Crucian mentioned before, spectator modes and cameras are always a concern for us. So if they do include that into something like Arena Commander, we need to know that we can support with those tools and be able to hold our events they would like to, because the broadcast is a huge part of what we do. Obviously, the entertainment value of is what we're after, as well as the community racing side of things too. So yeah, well, fingers crossed. We've submitted some cool stuff, and I think also said some cool stuff to us, and we just need to wait and see if they hold their word to those things. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I've always been a big proponent of like having something like the BTR, but like an actual racetrack.
Yeah, large scale.
Large scale.
Yep.
Like in the US we've got Formula One and IndyCar racing, and then we also have like NASCAR racing and those sorts of things. Like those exist. Why can't we have those in CIG?
Yeah, BTR reminds me. BTR reminds me of Mario Kart, and yeah, like you said, going larger than that would be where we'd like to go. But yeah, we got a Mario Kart track.
So, Cor5air, I'll start with you this next question, because we've been talking mostly kind of about Atmo Esports and some of the other stuff y'all do and these sorts of these things. But let's talk about ground gameplay as a whole. Because right now there's not really a real reason to bust out the Steves or the Tonks or any of those sorts of things other than just kind of for fun. What would you like to see, or anything you would suggest to how CIG could make ground gameplay more engaging for your average person?
I think it's Crew kind of just hit on this before, but basically there's not a lot of variables to improving or customizing your racing experience. We know that components and fuel stuff and repair is all going to come in, and those things are going to make it a hell of a lot more entertaining. So once those come in and you can upgrade things and change things out, and then you're then not only competing from a physical standpoint, but you're also competing with your knowledge and how to upgrade your vehicle to maximize its capability. So all of those customization options are going to make what we do far more interesting. The demo rally is going to get a huge boost when all of those aspects come, because we want to remove spare vehicles completely from the rally, and you have to get one vehicle to the end across the 500 kilometers. So to maintain that vehicle to get the whole way, you don't spare. So if you break down, your support craft's there to help get that up and running again and continue race. So it's like things like that are going to change for the rally. S7's going to change with those customizable parts, and the other aspect of it, which Crew also mentioned, is like there's not a lot of difference between all the cyclones are pretty much the same. Boost is kind of average broken. Like the Ursa range is kind of the same. Like even the speeds are very close. Like there's a lot of variation. There's not a lot of excitement in choice. And I think once customization comes in and a bit of choice, it's just going to make it more exciting. But being repair going to be cool. I think I'm really looking forward to that coming. But I don't know. There's still a lot to come. Still a lot promised that we haven't even seen yet. They're only just really implementing more vehicles, and like we're all big fans of the Ranger at Atmo Esports. I think every single person like a Ranger fan. So you're definitely going to get that race when it comes out. That's for sure. But yeah, just the customization. And I've been since the day I really started. That was always the initial plan, is to like have all of those tools included in the race itself instead of just replacing the vehicle with another one and continuing. Okay. I know there's heaps to come.
Crew, what would you like to see to make ground gameplay more engaging for your average person?
I think that the same thing they did with racing in game, they should do with ground vehicles. Doing checkpoints, having probably like a somewhat of an in-game leaderboard or something where people can pull out a vehicle and go through these checkpoints and start that mission or start that race the same way you would do with chip vehicles, so that way people can get a little bit more excited. Obviously I'm not sure if I haven't tried the ship racing yet, so I'm not sure if they give you money if you hit like gold, silver, or platinum or whatever it is, but that could also be something that they can do. Like, hey, if you hit silver, gold this one time on this track, they'll give you 15,000 AUEC, something like that. So I think the same thing that I think they're implementing that makes people excited to get to race in game is the same thing that they should do. Yeah, do it for ground vehicles. I know they tried it before, but I think that they didn't try the way they did it with ship racing. So just find some good spots or just build things around like Lorville now that you can drive around in. Like do things around there that could make it easy track for people to kind of compete and have a small leaderboard or get platinum on that track and gain some UEC for doing that. I think that would be a cool aspect in game that they can add.
Awesome. All right. So now we're kind of moving on to like what some of the updates from Atmo Esports, because I know you've all been pretty much to every live CitizenCon since like 2017, 2018. Yep. What's y'all's plans for CitizenCon this year? Are we going to get anything crazy or?
Sorry, my headset fuzzed out. I didn't hear any of that. I had complete static across the whole question. Sorry.
So you've been to every CitizenCon since since CitizenCon was a thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and
what's planned this year? Because I know y'all going to CitizenCon this year. So do you have anything talking about, or
Yeah, well, each year it's been an experience with us. That CRG, like I went. Oh,
You're good. You should be done.
Sorry, I'm back. The very first time I went, I had to submit to get a community booth. There was only 4 community booths for that first time that they opened that up. So I was fortunate to submit for that. I did a proposal and all of that, and was able to be included, which was a great experience. Which honestly allowed me to have easier access to following years to submit, knowing that we can produce something that is at least useful in that community space, and something a little bit unique to other providers. But and each year it's just gotten larger and larger for us, and we've been able to have little conversations, and they've opened hearts to us a little bit, and this year we're going to be able to level it up again. Like we've got a lot of exciting news to come, but we kind of still have to wait a little bit longer. We're still waiting for some confirmations and stuff like that, but we're definitely going to have a pretty cool present this year. But not only that, it's going to be the first time, especially after COVID, the first time that the majority of our Atmo Esports team is going to be in LA, and we're going to do a lot of things around the convention as well. Like we're going to have our own place to hang out, and we're going to have like little activations happening around CitizenCon, and like photo opportunities, giveaways. We're just going to really have a large presence at CitizenCon, and we've got some other stuff which we can't really talk about right now, but this year is going to be the biggest. It's going to be the biggest, man. It's going to be. We're all so excited to catch up the team and just experience this one. And it feels like it's been a few years, so it's going to be to catch up with everyone that we used to see. And I met Crucian at CitizenCon in Austin. That's when we first met each other. We were introduced, and we had a kind of similar outlook on what we wanted to do. So that's how we hooked up and started working together. So yeah, if I hadn't have been to the CitizenCon, I wouldn't have crew, and probably be exactly where we are right now. So it's been extremely fortunate to meet this man and have such a good 5-year run. So yeah, it's CitizenCon support, to be honest.
Yeah, I think people don't realize how much CitizenCon has become part of the community over time. I've heard people talk about how CitizenCon is kind of it delays development a lot, but like if you haven't really been to a live CitizenCon, it's hard to explain the vibe of CitizenCon.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
I was gonna say that I'm pretty sure somewhere in the background, right, they were probably discussing like should they even have one. I'm pretty sure there's some type of discussion between CIG internally that they were like, man, should we really do this, or should we crunch down on development? But man, being gone for this long since COVID, man, it's so tough. And there's a lot of controversy out there where people are like, oh, I'm not gonna go if I don't get a premium ticket because I want the full experience. Look, man, I promise you, you don't need one for the full experience. The community is the full experience. If you're a content creator and you don't go because you don't have a premium ticket, man, meeting your community there is a full experience. So I'm telling you, like, if you can afford it, if you can help support, I would say take the regular ticket and 100% go, because you're gonna miss out on the best time of your life. I went to Con42, or we went to Con42. We had the best time, and there was only like 500 to 600 people there, and it wasn't even the full community. It was just like the people around Europe. But in LA, we're gonna have possibly 2,000 or 3,000, however many people are going to be there, man. It's going to be such a great time. And I know we're going to have a fun. And even though there's a party after, Ben, like I think it was in Austin, which was the last one I went to. I didn't went to the one in UK. Literally, Chris Roberts was there the whole time talking to people, talking to the community. He was literally standing by. He didn't go anywhere till like late in the afternoon or late in the evening, talking to as much people as he could. And Austin only had around, I think, 1,500 to 2,000, citizens there. So, you're going to be able to meet some of your favorite people, regardless of whether you have a premium ticket or not. So just putting it out there.
Yeah, there's probably a bit of criticism around the fact that they hold it and the, development time and cost and whatnot. But honestly, like, how else are you going to tie the community to a project better than meeting people in the flesh and interacting and having that opportunity to talk to develop and having it honestly is just such a good experience, and it's got a phenomenal vibe. Like if you go to Evo or Gamescom, it's completely different to those kinds of conventions. It's its own game. It's like it's just everyone's there for the same purpose. No one's for something else. Everyone's there for the same thing. So it's just you just meet so many people. You have so many good conversations. It's a phenomenal time. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's to put into perspective, you get a swag bag if you got the premium ticket, and you get to go to a party at the CIG offices. I believe is where the party is happening. And as much I've been to LA and the Austin offices multiple times, and as cool as it is, it's an office. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
It's cool, but it's an office. You've seen an office before. Mm-hmm. It's just an office with Star Citizen decorations on it. You're not really getting an inside scoop on development, because a lot of the stuff like that even I saw was under NDA when I went to those places were out within a year of what it was, and it wasn't a lot of the stuff was stuff that's already happened. So if you're like, I really wanted to get the premium experience, just show up. Like you'll be able to talk to everyone, and it's including, like, I cannot tell you enough. I got cornered by the guy who's in charge of PES at the 2018 Citizen Con, and he just talked to me for like 20 minutes about the difficulties of PES, and I was just like, what? And he was dumped on me. All right. Like other CIG employees I know, like, Paul, come talk to him. And I was like, what? And I was just sitting there like, I have no idea what this man is saying, but I'm trying to nod along. So if you're your average citizen, as long as you recognize if someone and you approach them, talk to them, they will talk to you. Like, it was cool. In 2018, Diabolus was there in his full cosplay outfit, and he walked up to Jay Lee in the full cosplay outfit, and Jay Lee was having an existential crisis because he's like, I designed that suit. I've never didn't expect to see it in the flesh. Like, I've never seen anything I've done created as a suit. And there's some really cool cosplay crew that they all hang out together and talk with each other. It's really detailed and such. So, yeah.
I think this year itself is gonna have the most cosplays ever. But I mean, you've been to the LA office, AstroPub, so this is not NDA, but that office, it ain't that big. So
it's tiny.
To everybody.
Yeah, it's tiny. That's the real reason why they sold so little tickets. Is if the party's in the LA office, it's like that's not a lot. Like, that's not a lot of space for a party.
Yep.
If the Austin office is small, that's really size. Go ahead.
Fast car chat there. I met Fast for the first time at the Austin Citizen Con as well, and I wouldn't have that opportunity outside of Citizen Con. So it's cool. G'day, Fast Car. How you doing, man?
Yeah, Fast Card it's for those who don't know, Fast Card's birthday is usually the same week as Citizen Con. So usually whenever Fast Card goes to a Citizen Con, we celebrate Fast Card's birthday as well as Citizen Con. So he's got the same birthday as Star Citizen. All right. System 7 just finished, right? How did that go? And what is System 7 for people who don't know, who aren't used to that?
Yeah, System 7 was it was a big year as far as organization goes. Our logistics man Zul, he had a pretty rough year. We had a lot of issues and bugs and vehicle related problems that we had to do some scheduling. For the first time, we actually rescheduled a race for the first time ever in the history of what we do. As far as that goes, we had a fairly rough year, and we had another race change as well. But honestly, apart from those two major switches and schedule updates, it ran really smooth. We had a team meeting before we came on here, and thanking the team and a bit of a debrief about what it was like. I think we've kind of created this team over the course of 5 years that are very consistent and quite regular. Everyone kind of has a lot of love for each other, and we can kind of trust them. And I think that team has really been able to adjust and move and have enough knowledge to help get us through this year, because it is very tight on the back end to do a lot of the things that we do. Then there's a lot of people involved. Esports has probably a casual volunteer rate of about 10 to 15 people, but when we have big events, we expand that probably about 20, 25, 30. But when it's DMR, we go even further and we have even more people come in. It's just a massive undertaking. So 7 was tough this year in as far as logistics go, but I think as far as what we delivered broadcast, I think we're pretty happy with the result. I think we were able to overcome a lot of those issues and make it still look a full of competitive event. So, it's fun. We love S7. I think it has a special place in our heart because it is really a true league ground racing experience. in what we do. So it is different to the PvP aspect and the rally. So we always love it. It's just longer than our other events, but yeah.
Give me the elevator pitch for those people who have no idea what the System 7 is.
Yeah, System 7 is a ground racing league tournament set over 7 races on 7 different tracks within currently the standard system, but we are expanding that when the systems reach out further, and we will be having races from anywhere in the galaxy. So you'll be able to see that. So every year it'll change, but it is a Formula 1 style point system, rule system. So if you want to compare it to anything, F1 is probably closest as far as struck goes, but it is a ground racing league tournament set over seven races each year.
We mentioned Fight or Flight earlier. How is Fight or Flight going this year? Because I was in the first Fight or Flight, got knocked out in the first round, but I was in the first Fight or Flight. All right. So what's going on for this?
Yeah, you were in the first creator one that we did with Toby. You know, shout out to Toby. They're always great partners. But Fight or Flight is your Super Bowl 2v2 dogfighting tournament for the community, right? Last year we only did it with 32 teams. The first 32 teams that signed up is the ones we took. This year we're going a bit further because we're doing it in the PU. We did 64 teams this year, so we doubled it, and then hopefully once we go in Arena Commander, which we talked about, then we won't have a cap because we'll be able to cycle through things a lot faster and kind of get, you know, have as many people that wants to compete as they can. So this year we're doing it again in the PU. This year we're doing it a little bit different, where the 64 teams are going to be able to do best of 3. We're gonna, instead of best of 1 like we did in previous years, we're gonna try to do them in waves. And we're just trying to figure out. It's gonna be a logistic nightmare, but we always make it work. We're gonna do our best to you know, to kind of make sure that everybody can compete at the highest level. This year the rule book's already up, so if you head over to atmo.gg, you can click on the Fight or Flight page, go there. We're doing it, so we're doing the group stage. The group stage is where we have all 64 teams. We have group A, B, C, and D. We have 16 teams in each group, which is going to be 8 matches, and then pretty much is going to trickle down all the way to the top 8. Once we go to the top 8, it's going to be another tournament day, which is going to be the final stage. And then the top 8 will compete in a double elimination tournament, which then is going to give us, you know, our champion at that point. So August 19 is going to be the group stage day, which is going to be all the groups that are going to fight.
What was that again?
64 teams. August 19th.
Okay, August 19th. Okay.
Yep. And then September 2nd, which is 2 weeks after, the top 8 will be able to compete in that double elimination bracket. So it's going to be a very, you know, it's going to be a very it's going to be like our last, hopefully our last tournament within the PU and our last tournament in this flight model. So we're kind of very excited for this year. But we have some other special stuff for Fight or Flight coming up that we can't even talk about. We'll hopefully talk about it soon. But let's just say that this year's Fight or Flight, the reason why we made it best of 3 is because the stakes are a lot higher. There's some incredible prizing for some of the top teams that if they make top 4, that they are going to get some really cool and special prizes that we'll announce hopefully by the end of the month.
Yeah, just real quick, there's only technically like 3 spots left available to register and then to sign up. So if you really want to get involved in that, do it quickly. We might have a few teams drop out on the waiting list, but if you do want to get involved, you should do it now, real quick.
Yep.
There we go. Sorry, I muted myself real quick. So speaking of all of this, tournaments, right? What tournaments in Star Citizen? Like the future of tournaments and in general in tournaments. What are you looking forward to, or what are you hoping for in the future with these sorts of tournaments?
Man, I love this topic. I'll kick it off here. Yeah. This is such a crazy topic because if you notice, all of our events are free to register. All of our events, our tournaments are just free for the community. We're just trying to create a competitive gameplay loop for the people out there that really want to be competitive right now. Now, the game itself, obviously, we deal with desync. We deal with a lot of bugs. We deal with a lot of different things because the game is not fully fleshed out yet. So because of that, that means that we don't have competitive integrity. Because we don't have a competitive integrity, we don't put up prize pools with money. We don't do any of that right now. in the future, once the game is in a better place and has competitive integrity, that's when I would like to start. That's when our group, or not I, sorry, our group at Atmo would like to start implementing things like a monetary value for competing, because now desync is not holding you back and nothing's holding you back. At that point, you will be able to compete at your fullest extent of your ability, and hopefully you'll be able to kind of hopefully make some extra cash in the future. So that's where we're kind of hoping, where I think tournaments are going to want to end up going to. And obviously the ones that like Demo Rally and public ones that we'll host will stay in the PU, but we're hoping that for the ones that are become super competitive, we want to make sure that we put them, like Fight or Flight. We want to make sure that we put them into ACC, because that way, we don't have pirates trying to mess with us or anybody at all, and they can compete without having any worries about anybody attacking them at that point. So that's where I see the future going, but we still have a long ways to go, because the game still needs server meshing, still needs systems to be put in place, all that good stuff. So yeah.
So yeah, like that's one part of what we do. The other thing that we've aiming towards and have some upcoming opportunities is actually doing what we do in a physical space as well. So being able to do what we do on a stage and tournament, and we've had some good discussions this year, so we really feel like we're on our way to that position where we can do physical environment events, but like Crucian said, like removing variables that can cost people a match or a round is still a very important thing that we need to kind of wait for. We can't have big prizes and a lot on the line when something really small that we can't control can affect the outcome of a match. So that's a huge thing. But simultaneously working towards both of these outcomes: physical and big prizes, fair results, and those kinds of things. So yeah, we really feel like this year we're pushing towards all those goals. Like it's pretty exciting to be where we are right now.
Yeah, because for those of you who don't know how difficult it is, I used to be the a very primitive version of what Atmo Esports is doing here, which was I forgot the name of it. It was just a PvP arena commander crew that I had to I was the broadcast and like the main, like behind everything, the man behind the curtains, and it's hard to describe how bad Arena Commander is right now.
Yeah.
And I will definitely echo the sentiment that Arena Commander really needs an updated spectator mode. You just need a much better spectator mode. And with the amount of content out there that are getting like photo modes, like I think even Starfield is getting a photo mode now. Like Star Citizen has no excuse to not do an in-depth photo mode and kind of filming mode and stuff like that. But I'll ask, with all that, because a lot of this is broadcasted and done, if you were to talk to CIG about some of these things, like spectator mode, or maybe even some way of getting cameras into the PU, what would you want them to focus on when it comes to these sorts of capturing these events? Would it be more broadcast side, maybe like broadcasting into the verse, or more just getting cameras that you can have more fine control over? I'll start with you, Cor5air, on that one.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think PU versus Arena Commander is going to be something that's very interesting when we transition to that and understanding how the spectator mode is going to work with how we currently broadcast. Christian would have ideas on that as well, but it's an integral part of what we do in the cast is show what the races or the competitors are doing. And like we've spent a lot of time working with our broadcast software. We basically have 3 producers, including Crucian, on the back end of what we do, constantly trying to make things work, and with a limited amount of space we can take cameras as well at this point. So as far as spectator mode coming into that, like I'd like to treat it the same way. Christian might have a different idea on this, but I'd like to treat it the same way that we do the PU cameras. That vibe is really cool. I think I'd like to keep that vibe, but obviously you're not going to get that PU like helicopter kind of feel from those cameras anymore. Spectator mode is going to be a much smoother motion and different motion and vertical and horizontal instant changes and all that kind of stuff. So it is going to be a different look. But I still think all our broadcasts will still have the same vibe. I think we would still display them in a similar way. Our producers would cut to different cameras the way they do now. I think broadcast wise, it will only just look smoother, but that just comes down to the fact that we're in AC versus PU, and we will never. I never want to go spectator mode in PU. To be honest, I think like involving the community as cameras is just something that actually built us up as a team. I think that's actually the one thing that made us kind of interesting to the community is actual community members controlling the cameras and using a ship to do that. I never want to lose that. Like, I love that. I started doing that when I first started doing the demo rally. I was involved in that whole experience as well, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I never want to lose that. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think for the PU, the Mako, right, being able to use the tools that they're giving us to, in the PU to be able to get those views and those cameras. I would not want to change that, right? I would not want to change any spectator mode in the PU. I wouldn't want to do any of that. I want the PU to be the PU, and as Cor5air said, continue to use those tools that they're giving us in order to capture that footage, whether, for those events. But when it comes to the ACC, I hope that becomes a little bit more intricate, right? So say if we have, if we have a tournament going on and we have spectators that come in and join the party and they're actually spectator, we want spectators to have camera controls. So saying the spectators can, if we have, let's say, 18 people competing, they'll be able to lock into that person's view, whoever they are, be able to choose from that list of whoever's competing, be able to choose that view and maybe have like when we hit I think it's F4 in game and have 3 different camera views. I'm hoping that the spectators can also have that as well, right? Being able to control, hold down Z and control the free movement of the camera, just like in the spectator mode in Arena Commander. So I think that's where we used to have that back in the 2.6 days. We had the custom lobbies and we had somewhat of a minimalistic spectator mode. And I think having that back would be just fine, but we would definitely need to take it up a little bit of a higher level, especially in ACC. But I think that would be fine to start off with, just having where you can lock into somebody, and if you want to watch a different player, you go watch a different player. But say if we're doing a 2v2 tournament, we can have 4 spectators. Those 4 spectators can just lock into each individual competitor, and then we won't need to scramble to have competitors share their cameras with us via an NDI or SRT via OBS, and it would kind of kill so many setup things that would make things a lot smoother. But yeah, in the PU, I would keep it exactly the same. The Mako, maybe having camera drones would be cool. That would be incredible. But it's on their court, to be honest, man. I don't want to, I wouldn't want them to push development else because we want a spectator mode. I would want them to go on whatever path that they're on and whatever roadmap they have already going on. So yeah.
Yeah, that I always ask that whenever I talk to people who deal with a lot of production stuff, because it's always interesting to see so much. Because the Machinima folks have their own kind of applications, and the one thing I've noticed is that almost everyone is like, we don't want this to break the game. We just want to be able to get cool shot angles and stuff like 100%. That. So, all right. Yep. I guess the last thing we wanted to bring up was Hurt Locker. What is the development of Hurt Locker and how it's going to change here? Do you have any ideas, any tips? First off, what is Hurt Locker? So people who don't know, because we've mentioned it a couple times, but for the people who don't know.
Yep. Yeah, Hurt Locker is something I mentioned a bit earlier in the podcast, but basically it is a battle royale set currently on Hurston. Within a crater, we have a civilian and a military division, and as many teams as they sign up can drop into this crater and fight it out to have the last person survive and win their match. And we have a series of matches, and we have the military tonks of it and the civilian version of that. But it is basically, people call it a destruction derby, but it is technically a battle royale within a single space, and that's pretty much what it is. But we enjoy the tournament, but it just, I don't know, it needs a little bit of a facelift. That once we added the military edition, it became a little bit harder to manage, and I think we want to improve what it is. We also want to have something that is more FPS focused in what we do as well, even though initially we thought, we're in the ground racing space and we do a lot of stuff with ground vehicles. We'll incorporate the ground vehicles. We're also thinking that we want to have a tournament that has an FPS aspect to it. We've got the PvP dogfighting, which is something that is separate from our ground racing. We want to also do something like that in the FPS space as well. So Hurt and Hurt Locker will most likely at this point become Hurt Locker, so that we can move around the verse and wherever we put it. And then we'll be doing FPS more focused events under that name. So it's got a hiatus this year. It's not happen in October. CitizenCon is too big for us this year, anyway, to be honest. So we're giving it a bit of a break. Next year it'll come back with a completely new face, and yeah, we'll have a different experience for you guys next year. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for our discussion section. We'll move on to the question and answer section. As always, go to atmo.gg to check out any of these Atmo Esports, and make sure you can follow Corsair and Crucian on their social medias, just like it's spelled on there for Twitter and Threads and Blue Sky and wherever they are. There's so many social medias now. So,
oh man.
And if you enjoyed this, make sure you are following us on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and subscribe for more content like this. I try to do this every week, and we do it live, and then it comes live afterwards. And if you're interested in the question and answers, and you're watching this well after the fact, on the Monday when I release this episode, right above Crucian's head will be, or Crucian, I'm sorry, right above Corsair's head will be a link to the VOD, so you can see the entirety of this section and the question and answer section, because I know how many of you are in the hashtag Shelley Work Squad and are listening to this because you're doing some code in the background or doing other things, and you put this in the background. So if that's you, make sure you check that out so you can get the full experience. But like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.